Warning. Although this podcast revolves around Disney, Disney movies, and Disney-related themes, we have a tendency to use mature language which is not suitable for all ages. Discretion is advised. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Ocho and Ortiz Disney podcast. This week it was another one of Josh's picks. Stick with us, find out what we're reviewing this week. Let's get this stuff started. Buddy Josh, how's it going?
Oh, it's a going, so much fun on the land of not doing shit.
Well, I mean, going is always better than not going.
Debatable, Dave.
I'm sorry. But we've survived the week. We're both here. I sprained my leg. You've been having health issues, but things are good enough for us to actually do an episode. So here we are. And like I said, off the top, this week was your pick, and you've picked another Disney animated film that came out just right sort of at the tail end of what's classified as the Disney Renaissance, the Disney animation Renaissance. But
yeah,
before we get into that, speaking of the Disney Renaissance, something that was announced yesterday, we are recording this on July the 17th. So yesterday being July the 16th, streaming on Disney Plus starting August 7th, there's going to be a documentary about Howard Ashman, the lyricist for a lot of the big titles during the Disney animation Renaissance. He wrote songs for Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. He was working on Aladdin at the time of his passing. So I'm really excited for this documentary to come out, and I'm pretty sure you're excited for it as well.
Yeah, I saw it and I sent you a picture of it like as soon as I saw it, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be awesome. Before you even brought it up today, I was gonna bring it up and be like, doesn't matter whose week it is to choose. When that fucking thing comes out, I think we're doing that right away.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we are releasing these every 2 weeks now, so I don't know if that will come out on a release week or not, but we'll definitely record once it comes out, and it will be out within a couple of weeks of it being released. But I'm definitely excited for that.
Same.
Now, having said that, before we get into things, first of all, if you guys already don't have Disney Plus, go sign up for Disney Plus. It's like $8.99 a month, and there's so many great things on there. So many great classic Disney animated stuff, so much great newer Disney stuff, live action, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Star Wars Cinematic Universe. Tons of great documentaries. The last one that we reviewed, Waking Sleeping Beauty, like, I wouldn't have even known that was a movie that existed if it wasn't for Disney Plus. And just kind of scrolling through like suggestions and stuff. And it turned out to be a really good movie. So they have tons of great stuff on there. And I highly recommend anybody listening to this or watching this, if you're seeing this on YouTube, if you don't already have Disney Plus, go out and subscribe. And then, you know what? You can subscribe and follow to us. We are available on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course our main source of uploading is Podbean, Ocho and Ortiz DisneyPod.podbean.com. We're also on YouTube. Just search for Ocho and Ortiz Disney Pod on YouTube. Our video quality isn't the best, I know that, but it is what it is with the equipment that we have right now. if you guys want to support us, you can definitely go to our wrestling PayPal page. I'm gonna start a PayPal page for the Disney podcast as well as a Patreon page for the Disney podcast. But right now you can go to paypal.me/Ocho and Ortiz if you enjoy this show and want to make any sort of financial donation. If you don't want to or you can't, that's fine. You can also help us out by following us on the social medias. Ocho Ortiz Disney on Twitter, Facebook.com/Ocho and Ortiz Disney Pod, or at Ocho and Ortiz Disney Pod on Instagram. And again, just, you know what? The best way to help us out, in addition to following us on social media, is share the content, tell people about the show, get them interested. It would help us out a great deal. And leave us comments on whatever podcast platform you listen to this on. That would be greatly appreciated as well. Now, like I said off the top, this week's pick belonged to Josh. And Josh, you picked the 1998 animated feature, Hercules. 1997. Sorry. Hercules.
Yes, I picked what I consider the most underrated Disney animated movie. That's just me.
I hadn't watched it before, I'll be honest. So
yeah, see?
I didn't know what to expect going into this, but I actually really enjoyed this movie.
This is another one of my friends. He's actually never seen it too, and we were talking about this about a week ago when we went out, and he hasn't seen it. But one of our other friends, he's like, "Oh man, that's such a great movie!" And honestly, this is one of my favorites. And again, like I said, the most underrated Disney movie that I think exists.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I highly enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect. I know there's a couple of people that I follow on Twitter that are big Disney fans that have talked about Hercules as well as Mulan. Mulan is another one that I haven't seen, but it's one that I plan on watching at some point. I'm sure we'll watch it and review it on here. Maybe not. Doesn't sound like you were a fan.
No, I love Mulan. That's my thing was like, what, you haven't seen Mulan? Like, oh my god, I'm so pissed that everything's closed. So fucking they had to delay the release of the live action. I was going to go see that on opening night. For sure. At the
time when things like Hunchback, Mulan, Hercules, that sort of stuff came out, like, that was the time period where I was sort of getting into my teenage years and sort of stepping away from Disney movies and going to watch like more mature rated movies with my buddies and stuff when we'd go to the theaters. And then I just never really got a chance to get around to watching them, because obviously there hasn't been a platform like Disney Plus until recently, with all these classic Disney animated films on there and available to you to watch at any time. But yeah, that, like, a lot of those late 90s movies, I haven't really watched. Like, I think Lion King was probably the last Disney animated feature that I watched in full until, which came out first, Lilo and Stitch or Monsters, Inc.?
I think Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, so Lilo and Stitch would have been the next animated feature film that I watched. I watched Toy Story in between, but I really, at the time, like, when you're younger, you don't know about the sort of business deals and everything, so I had always counted Toy Story as, like, a Pixar film. So, yeah, so between just regular Disney and non-collaborations with Pixar, I went, like, probably 6-7 years without seeing any Disney animated films from the time Lion King came out until Lilo and Stitch came out. So,
sorry, Monsters Inc. was first. Monsters Inc. was 2001. Lilo and Stitch was 2002.
Yeah, I knew Monsters Inc. was 2001. I just couldn't remember if Lilo and Stitch was 2000 or 2002.
Yeah, little sad news came out today actually about Lilo and Stitch. Sort of. I don't know if you caught this. I mean, like, it was pretty much already done for. They with the coronavirus going on, they've announced some things are getting delayed at the parks. There was supposed to be a big overhaul at Epcot, and one of their rides' refurbishments got pushed back. But the Lilo and Stitch had a ride there at Magic Kingdom called Stitch's Great Escape. It replaced another ride called Alien Encounter, which apparently everybody loved. But I really did enjoy Stitch's Great Escape, but they did close that a few years ago, and they've been using the location as like a Stitch meet and greet, but now they've officially announced that Stitch's Great Escape is permanently closed.
Oh, okay.
Like, well, that's sad. Yeah, they announced that that's permanently closed. Another little roller coaster called Primavera Whirl at Animal Kingdom and the River of Lights at Animal Kingdom show is also permanently closed.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, River of Lights was all right. The roller coaster was a little. It was one of those, like, you know, the Fly at Wonderland.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like one of those roller coasters, like the Mousetrap type rides. You know, just goes up but this one spun like a motherfucker. Right? I remember getting stuck on that one time. Like, we were literally going up the hill and it broke down.
Oh,
man! Had to get off and walk down. So I mean, I'm not too sad to see that one go. But Stitch's Great Escape, it was a different experience. It wasn't exactly a ride. It was more of an encounter, right? It was fun. It was fun. I liked it.
I'm just waiting to get a chance to go back to Disney World and redo what we were supposed to do back in April before everything got shut down. But having said that,
I mean, September.
We'll see. I hope so, but we'll see. But having said that, Hercules was your pick, so I didn't bother taking any notes this week. So let's get into it. Josh, why don't you get us started on the review for Disney's Hercules?
All right. Thank you. I also did not take any notes. But again, like, to be fair, like, I usually pick movies that I know very, very well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this thing with Hercules too is that it's Disney's take on Hercules, right? It's a well-known Greek mythology thing, and that's another thing that I love. Like, it's Greek mythology and stuff, right?
Yes.
So Hercules, it starts off with the Muses telling a story about, like, the dawn of time and stuff, and the Titans that were ruling over the world at first, and then Zeus being Zeus came down with his thunderbolts and locked the Titans away. Then it goes on to them going up to heaven and not heaven, Mount Olympus, and
which is basically heaven in Greek mythology.
It's basically heaven. You know, they're up in the clouds. It's
because they are the gods, right? So
exactly.
You have Zeus. You have, what is it? Hera, his wife.
Hera. Yep. Yeah.
Hermes, I think, is there.
Yeah, Hermes is the one that flies, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Hermes is there. You know, sorry, it's got a pretty big cast too. Some of it, eh?
Yeah. It had a huge cast. And in this movie, Hermes was voiced by I can't think of the name of the person that voiced him.
Give me a second.
But he was the head musician for David Letterman's late night band. Paul Schaefer, I think it was.
Yes, you're right. Paul Schaefer, yeah, he was Hermes, and Rip Torn was Zeus.
Yeah, such a great Zeus. He just has that really great, powerful yet amazing voice.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was, like, perfect when I saw it. I was like, yes. Well, not when I saw that originally. You know, originally I'm like, who the fuck is? I'm a little kid. You know, I was 7 when this movie came out.
Yeah.
Right, but you know, going back and watching it, and just, the voices are just like, wow. Some of the people, like even Hercules, is played by Tate Donovan. Did you ever watch The OC?
No, but I know of The OC.
Okay, well, he was one of the dads in The OC, and you know, Danny DeVito is Philoctetes or Phil. James Wood played Hades.
Bobcat Goldthwait was one of the 2 little minions of Hades.
Yeah. And who's the other one? Where'd he go?
Pain and Panic. So Bobcat Goldthwait was Pain, and Matt
Frewer.
Frewer, yeah. Which sounds familiar, but I can't think of what he's been in that I've actually seen.
Yeah, and then Susan Egan played Meg, or Megara, and listening to it, I'm like, man, I know that voice, right?
Yeah.
And I actually had to go look it up to see who she was. She was actually in another like Disney Channel original movie where she was the dance teacher at a high school, or she just showed up as a teacher, and then she ended up becoming the dance teacher as well.
She also played
Kick It Up.
She also played Belle in a Broadway production of Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, I did not know that one.
Yeah, she was the original Belle on the Broadway production of Beauty and the Beast.
Nice. Again, it was the voice that was like, I know this voice, right? I knew it from somewhere, and of course, it's from a decom.
Of course, it was.
So yeah, back to the story of the movie. You know, they show they're showing the big party for Hercules being born, and everything's going good, and Hades shows up, right? And in this, everybody's like, oh, it's just Hades. He's just a normal god. Just he lives in the underworld, right?
Well, yeah, he's the god of the underworld, but everyone kind of, I wouldn't say fears him, but knows that he's trouble.
Yeah. Let's say in this particular version, maybe because it's a Disney version, they're not afraid as most incarnations of Hades people would be, right? So then,
and I think it's stated in this movie that him and Zeus are brothers.
Yes. Well, I mean, in most Greek mythology, Hades and Zeus are brothers, right?
Yeah. But they really only stated that in this film during the opening scene, and then it was sort of like never mentioned again.
Mm-hmm. Well, most places, and like I said, in most of them, they're all brothers and stuff like that, right? Yeah. Like in like Percy Jackson and everything, they're all brothers as well, right?
Yeah.
But so then Hades goes back down to the underworld, and he's talking with Pain and Panic. Well, we get introduced to Pain and Panic in a very funny manner, where Panic just falls onto Pain, and Panic's got horns.
Yes.
Falls straight into his ass. And it's fucking hilarious. It's hilarious. The two voices for that were absolutely perfect. Then, Hades says, let me know when the, what are they called?
Oh, shit. I can't think of the name either. But they're not witches, but they're like...
It's like the oracles, basically.
Yeah.
It's not what they're called, but that's what we're going to call them.
Yes.
Which basically, he's like, let me know when they're here, and he's like...
And they're basically in charge of, like, deciding when to cut the string on people's lives.
The Fates.
Yes, the Fates.
The Fates. They all have... There's three of them. They share one eye, because for some reason that eye can also see into the future and stuff. And it's pretty cool. It's like their crystal ball almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so... He says, let me know when the Fates arrive, and he's like, the Fates are already here, and Hades freaks out. They're like, we're worms, we're not worthy. They turn in. I'm just picturing Wayne's World in that, we're not worthy, we're scum.
But yeah, so
after that,
Hades goes to meet the Fates, and as he's entering the room, they cut the string on somebody else's life. Just an insignificant soul, but just to show the audience that they're in control. They're the ones that control the fates, basically, of humanity and who lives and dies and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So then they go in, and he's like, "Sorry, I'm late." They're like, "We know everything." He's like, "Yeah, okay, I get it." And then he's like, "So, talk to me about my plan. Is it gonna work?" Because he has this plan that in about I think they said 18 years that the planets will all align, and he will be able to release the Titans, and that he will then go and take over Olympus and get rid of Zeus.
Yeah,
that's his plan. And he's like, "Okay, bing, boom, awesome." And they're like, "But be warned, should Hercules decide to fight, Hades will fall."
Yes.
And he's like, "What?" And then, he freaks out again. They leave, they disappear, gone into oblivion, or they're just gone. And then, so Hades sends Pain and Panic to go. He asks them first, how do you kill a god? And they say, well, you can't because they're immortal. He's like, exactly. So then he goes and grabs a potion and says, unless you turn them human.
Yeah, unless you make them mortal, yeah.
Unless you make them mortal. Gives them this potion and tells them to go and kidnap Hercules and make him drink the potion, but he must drink every last drop of said potion.
And then
So
they were also supposed after they were supposed to give him the every last drop of the potion and stuff. They were also then supposed to kill him.
Yes. So Pain and Panic then go up to Mount Olympus. You know, they steal Hercules, go down to Earth, and you know, there's a big ruckus because Hera and Zeus wake up and everybody's searching for Hercules, but by the time they find him, he's down on Earth with Pain and Panic, and they're making him drink the bottle, and he's like, they're like, you have to drink every last drop.
Yeah.
They hear a noise, and it's just these two mortals walking. And
Yeah.
they get freaked out, and they
A man and his
break
wife.
the bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, a man and his wife. But they drop and break the bottle, and the last drop spills to the ground, so it doesn't work. It makes him mortal.
But it doesn't take away his strength.
Exactly. He does not take his godlike strength, and Hercules is basically the strongest of them all.
Yes.
So, yeah. But because they did that and he was mortal now, if you're mortal, you cannot go to Mount Olympus. You cannot live there. And so now he had to stay on Earth, not knowing who he was, because he's still a baby at this point.
Yes.
Right? Pain and Panic go back to Hades, and they tell him, we did it. We killed him. Or so he thinks. Fast forward, Hercules is in his teens, I guess, then?
Yeah, let's say probably about 14, 15.
Yeah. Fast forward to when he's a teen, he's running like a madman. He's pulling a cart with him. It's got a whole bunch of hay. And they get to the city, and he almost knocks everything over at first.
Yeah, he has all this strength and he really can't control it. So every time he runs into something, it either almost gets knocked down or it just breaks completely. So he's very, very destructive, not in a malicious way, but just sort of in a clumsy sort of way.
Yeah, exactly, a clumsy way. He almost killed the fucking donkey when he picked up some hay, then dropped the hay down on the cart, and the donkey Penelope went flying in the air. But you know, he caught her, puts her back down, then he helps this old man who's about to drop some pots, and once the pot owner realizes who it is, gets very scared, takes the pot back to him. Hercules says, "I got this, don't worry." Everybody's very afraid of Hercules because, you know, he's so strong.
Yeah, so I mean, this is basically just a scene setting up his strength, and there's just a bunch of different things going on which showcase Hercules' strength, but also the fact that, you know, he doesn't know who he is, so he doesn't know how to control his strength. Like, there's even a point where there's some other kids throwing a discus, and it comes to Hercules, and he asks if he can join them. And they realize who he is, and they're like, "No, we've already got a full team. We've got 5 players,
and we want to keep it equal."
And we want to keep it equal, which is a great joke. But yeah, so that scene basically is just setting up Hercules' strength, and then at the end of it, I forget exactly what happens, but Hercules accidentally trips into a column or something, which causes the entire like Colosseum or like just the surrounding building of the village that they're in to collapse and just everything to be destroyed. Yeah,
and then after that, the center of that one was that pot. The guy I was talking about before, the clay pot guy, and he freaks out and says, "That's it. He's a menace. Don't bring him back." Blah blah blah. They go back to the house, and you know, Hercules all sad. He said he wants to know where he came from, this and that, and that's when his parents bring out this little
medallion
that he was wearing as a baby that had his name on it, and on the front of it's got like the lightning bolt, like a sign of Zeus and, you know, the god. So he decides he's gonna go on his quest to the temple of Zeus to see if he can figure out who he is and where he's from, because at this point he still doesn't know he's a god. He doesn't know how strong he is, or he knows how strong he is, just he doesn't know why he's that strong.
Yes.
And that's also where you get probably my favorite song from the movie, and it's called "Go the Distance." Fucking love that song. What did you think of that one?
It was all right.
You know who did the? Sorry, go on.
I hear that song all the time at work. up until I watched this movie, I didn't realize it was from Hercules. But like I said before, we have where I work, we have a very strong, like heavily influenced Disney sort of playlist. There's other songs mixed in there as well, but I hear Disney a lot. So I've always heard this song at work for like the last 6 months. I just haven't never seen Hercules up until now. I didn't know what it was from, but it's
okay. Yeah,
it's an okay song. I have nothing against it.
It's probably a Menken classic, right? Because this is another one that Menken worked on was Hercules.
Yes.
There's something I'm gonna send you later if I can find it. When this all started, somebody actually made a parody of it called "I Will Social Distance," and it's fantastic. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, Hercules then goes to the temple of Zeus, and in there's a big statue of Zeus, and he starts talking to him, and then he asks for a sign. A lightning bolt comes down, strikes the statue of Zeus, and Zeus comes to life. Hercules freaks out, and he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, and Zeus is like, "What kind of reaction is that to see your old man?" He's like, "My old man? What?" He's now realizing that his father is Zeus. And he starts asking questions like, "Why didn't you want me?" This and that, and he then tells him, "We did, but
you were taken from us.
And we were taken from us. We can't bring you home unless you're a true hero." Zeus tells him to find Philoctetes or Phil, and he will train him to become a true hero.
Yeah.
Also, before that, when that happens, we got reintroduced to Pegasus, because I totally forgot that Pegasus as a kid.
Yeah, Pegasus was Zeus's gift to Hercules, so it's basically his horse companion. And then
who can fly,
because he's a Pegasus. And then Zeus gives Hercules Pegasus to help him out while he's mortal on Earth.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. So Pegasus and Hercules go on their way to go find Philoctetes, and they find him, and he is a little creeper.
Yes.
He's a stalker. He's that's the biggest way I could put it for now, right? And the nicest way to put it.
Yeah, he's kind of a horny old goat bastard. He's spying on the nymphs.
Yes, he's spying on these wood nymphs, and they all start running away. One of them turns into flowers, another one turns into a tree, and the tree says, and he's like, "Oh, nymphs can't keep their hands off me," and the tree smacks him in the face, and he goes flying, and it's pretty funny.
And then Hercules comes up to him and sort of introduces himself and basically tells him that he's trying to become a hero so he can live amongst the gods and stuff. And at first, feels like, forget it. I'm done training people, and basically sort of telling him that he also doesn't think Hercules has what it takes, and he's going through the list of people that he's trained in the past that never made it. And the last one he gets to is Achilles, and he says that Achilles was the greatest of them all, except for that heel of his, which is obviously how we come to, in today's society, to have the term Achilles heel. Because in Greek mythology, Achilles' heel is what stopped him from being this great Greek hero. But anyway, so Phil tells him that he doesn't think Hercules has what it takes, and Hercules is basically pleading with him, and Phil eventually reluctantly agrees to train him, but sort of with less than 100% confidence in Hercules' abilities.
Yeah. Also, the thing about it too is he doesn't believe in Hercules. Also, he doesn't believe that Hercules is Zeus's son, because he tells him, he's like, "I'm Zeus's son," and he starts laughing. He's like, Your dad is the man of thunder." No. He starts laughing, and he keeps saying, I'm not going to train you. It's not happening. It's not happening. And they're outside, and then he's like, "Nothing will convince me." And then Zeus strikes him down with some lightning.
Yes.
And he's like, "All right, okay, I'm in." So yeah. Oh God, sorry. I literally might go watch this movie again.
So we see Phil and Hercules training, and basically there's like a little montage there, and Phil's going over the rules of what it takes to be a hero.
One of the rules is aim, because he throws 5 swords without looking and almost stabs Phil.
Yes.
And he's like, make sure you aim. By the way, we haven't mentioned this. We might have mentioned it earlier, but what's awesome is when we meet Phil is that Phil is voiced by
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito. And Danny DeVito is so funny.
I love Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito's great. And, like, you know, there's rumors of Hercules is supposed to be a movie that's going to be made into a live action. And I'm 100% so for it. I think it'd be absolutely amazing. And what's awesome is that Danny DeVito is he's still alive, and he's, you know, I mean, he's short, and he could still play this part of Phil. And I think it'd be great if they got Danny DeVito to be in this again. Yeah,
no, that would be amazing. But anyways, after the montage, we see Hercules trying to do his first heroic thing, and it's rescuing a damsel in distress. And this is where we meet Meg.
Yeah, sorry, as they were flying around, what's his name? Phil's like, do you hear that? It's a DID. He's like, a DID? He's like, yeah, damsel in distress. So they fly down, and we get introduced to Meg. She is arguing with the what did they call him? The water god or the water guardian?
I honestly can't remember.
He's a centaur. You know, he's a half man, half horse. And, you know, Hercules is like, you know, what seems to be the problem? You know, you should put her down. And Meg is like, I can take this. Goodbye, leave. And he's like, no, you know, are you not a damsel in distress? She's like, I'm a damsel. I'm in distress. I've got this. Goodbye. And, you know, he's like, Hercules decides against what she wants. And he's like, no, I'm here to help. And then he fights. He fights the centaur, and she can't believe that he's real. She looks at Phil, he's like, is Wonder Boy over here for real? And he's like, yeah, you know, he's 100% real. Then looks up, he's like, oh, wow, you know, I'm real too. And she pushes him off her right into the water. Hercules, and they go back to seeing Hercules in the Centaur fight. And, you know, Hercules wins, but what's really funny is he gets hit, he can't find his sword. Phil tells him to find it, picks it up, he pulls out a fish.
Yes.
The centaur just laughs. But then he just hits him really hard, beats the shit out of him. You know, Hercules is really strong. And that's his first win.
Yep. And then that's when, after Hercules leaves, we see Meg walk away. And that's where we see her interact with Hades for the first time. And it's revealed that she's working with Hades to try to help recruit people for him to help him defeat the gods of Olympus. And he asked how the plan went, and she reveals the fact that, you know, it was going well, but then the centaur tried to, like, couldn't keep his hands off of her. And then somebody named Hercules showed up, and then that's when Hades was like, Hercules. And then the two minions, Pain and Panic, are like, Hercules, how do we where have we heard that name before? And that's when Hades, like, loses his shit, and he's like, you told me you killed Hercules.
Before that, they're like, why does that name sound familiar? And the one's like, maybe we owe him money.
Yes, yeah.
And then he's like, and then they're like, and then when they realize, they're like, oh, Hercules, he's like, good as dead, you said you killed him. And, you know, yeah. So now they got to figure out a way, but they then tell him that, you know, he is mortal. So he comes up, Hades comes up with a plan, and he sends Meg to go deal with it, I guess. We get back to Hercules. He's now in a town.
Yeah, because now Phil's convinced him that, you know, saving a damsel in distress is just the first step, but he's got to become a hero to the people. So he takes him to Thebes, and basically, like, Thebes is, according to Phil, like, this big notorious city, lots of crime and everything goes on there, and it's a city that needs a hero. So he takes him to Thebes, and at first the townspeople of Thebes are less than welcoming to receiving Hercules.
Yeah, no, they're not. They ask him, have you ever saved a town before? You ever beaten a monster? This and that. And he keeps saying, no, no, no. They're like, well, what we need is a true hero, not a wannabe. Enter Meg. Meg comes running around, pleading for help, pleading for help. She sees him. She's like, Wonder Boy, Hercules, I need your help. There's these two kids that were out playing, and then there was a big landslide, and they're stuck. Please, you need to come help them. And he's like, two kids, of course. He grabs her. They jump on Pegasus. They fly away. Meg's screaming because she has a big fear of heights. As they're racing over to where the rock slide is and everything, all of the townspeople come running to go see what's happening. Phil is the last one to get there. And, Hercules lifts the boulder. The two kids run out and they say,
Thanks, mister.
Thanks, mister. Gee Willikers, you're strong. And so what he does is he picks up that boulder. They get out. What he doesn't know is when he picks up that boulder, it moves it from a cave. And inside of that cave is what we call a Hydra. And you actually can see it there. The Hydra's actually there on the screen right beside Dave's face. If you're watching the video podcast, it's the one right above, there you go, right above Hades there. That is a Hydra. So Hercules starts fighting the Hydra. Cuts off its head.
Well, Hydra ends up swallowing Hercules, and everyone thinks that's it for Hercules. But from inside Hydra's throat, Hercules just takes out his sword and cuts off its head. Yeah. And everyone thinks Hydra's defeated, and even the minions think he's defeated. And that's when Hades said, "This is only halftime." Which I just found an interesting article this week too, which points out the fact that when Hades says this line, it's actually the halfway point for the running time in this movie. So this movie
is it really?
So this movie is 93 minutes long, and this line actually takes place at 46 minutes and 30 seconds into the movie. So that line is actually the halfway point of the movie. So that was definitely interesting. It doesn't work if you're watching it on Disney Plus, because the runtime on Disney Plus is different, because on Disney Plus they've added like 5 more minutes worth of credits at the end for all the like foreign languages and credits around the world. But if you have this on home video release, like on DVD or Blu-ray VHS, this line is exactly halfway through the movie.
That's pretty awesome. I did not know that. That's cool. Little tidbit there from Dave. Yeah, so he says it's the halfway point. They hear something. Phil says, that doesn't sound good. Him and Hercules turn around, and the Hydra grows 2 more heads. So that's the thing with the Hydra. You cut off one head, 2 more grow in its place. So, but what does Hercules do at this point?
So Hercules keeps fighting, and he keeps cutting off the heads, but then more heads just keep growing and growing.
Yeah. And then you hear Phil, well, enough with the cutting of the heads already. And he before that, he just cut them so many times that there's probably 20 to 30 fucking heads now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But he keeps fighting, and then finally the Hydra grabs him and pushes him up against the rocks, the what am I thinking of? The wall, basically. And he's about to get eaten, and Hercules just, because again, Hercules is so strong, he just hits the wall, the rocks fall down, and basically crushes the Hydra.
And everyone thinks Hercules is dead too, because Hercules was in Hydra's claw at the time, but then all of a sudden you see the claw start to slowly open, and Hercules reveals that he's okay. And then, like, the crowd and everything cheers him on. And Hades is pissed off because he still hasn't defeated Hercules. And then we get a video montage of Hades sending a whole bunch of monsters after Hercules. And then Hercules just constantly fighting off the monsters and having complete victory after complete victory. And I realized the webcam froze, so apologies for that. But yeah, so he's just fighting. He's just fighting the monsters and defeating them, and his legend and his heroship continues to grow.
His celebrity also seems to grow at this point.
Yeah,
he becomes a huge celebrity to the point that they're literally absolutely anything and everything you could think of. There's toys, there's shoes, there's drinks, there's sports.
There's actually quite a few digs in this movie about merchandising and stuff. And this is obviously a big scene showing like Hercules' face and merchandising on everything. And I can't help but think that this was the animator's way of taking a subtle dig at Jeffrey Katzenberg, because Jeffrey Katzenberg was known for all of his merchandising bullshit. So, and as far as I know, this was the first movie that went into production post Katzenberg. Because there were movies that came out after Katzenberg left Disney in 1994, like Pocahontas, but they were being produced at the time Katzenberg was still there. So I think these were subtle digs at Katzenberg.
Yeah, because I remember, wasn't it Katzenberg who said Lion King's not going to be big, but Pocahontas is going to be the biggest thing of all time, and nobody wanted to work on Lion King?
Yeah. But he's also the one that over-merchandised Lion King not Lion King, Aladdin, to the point where it pissed off Robin Williams, and Robin Williams wanted nothing to do with Disney for a couple of years because he didn't want his character merchandised the way that Katzenberg ended up doing it. So, but back to the movie, so Hercules is becoming this hero, and they're basically telling Hades is still trying to figure out a plan to destroy him, and he's still getting Meg to work with him. And then that's when he sets Meg to basically like try to go on a date with Hercules to find out, or spend more time with Hercules to find out his weaknesses, any weaknesses that he may have. And that's when she comes to Hercules and she drives off all the women that were there Phil had driven off all the women that were there to see him. And then Meg comes in while Phil is gone and basically convinces Hercules to go on a date with her. And they go on a date and they go see a play about Oedipus, which is another big story in Greek mythology. And Phil finds them after the date and basically like breaks it up because he doesn't want Hercules like falling for this woman, because, you know, he thinks women are gonna like lead Hercules astray. And this is when we get to probably one of my favorite songs, which is I Won't Say I'm in Love, because Meg is trying to convince herself that she's not in love with Hercules. And then that's when we see the muses come back and they're trying to point out the fact that, yeah, she is in love with him, even if she doesn't want to admit it. But I Won't Say I'm in Love is a fantastic musical number. I can't say enough about it. Like, I've played that song nonstop since I've watched this movie. It's just a tremendous, tremendous song.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic song. There's one little thing that I want to ask you if you noticed it. When they were doing that scene where all the women were coming at him, before they were doing that, they were talking. It was Hercules and Phil talking, but Hercules was standing still to get a portrait done of him. Did you see what he was wearing on top of him?
No.
It was Scar from The Lion King.
Oh, yeah. I saw. Yes. Now that you say that, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to bring that up. I'm like, oh, that they do that in some of those some of those Disney movies where they put little things in from other movies.
Well, they do it all the time in Pixar, but yeah, I think this is. I feel like that's probably the first time that they've done it in a Disney film. Yeah.
For me, that was the big. I still feel like that is the biggest like one I've ever seen. Right? It's like some of them are subtle. That one was just like, hey, look, it's Scar, right? And, you know, Lion King is only, 3 years old at this point from that movie, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, so that happens. But again, you go back to it. She's doing the song, I Won't Say I'm in Love. Great fucking song. I love, again, that, I still, personally, I like Go the Distance better. But, I Won't Say I'm in Love is still a good song as well.
No, this song is a masterpiece. But I digress. We're at 51 minutes, so I just want to try to roll through this and get through this. So after that, after the song, that's when Hades appears and he wants to find out what Meg found out. And basically she's arguing back and forth with him. and he's like reminding her about the deal, about her freedom and everything. And she's like, I don't care. I won't let you hurt him. Besides, no matter what you do, you can't beat him. And that's when Phil comes to, because he had been knocked out just before the song had started, before the I Won't Say I'm in Love song started. So this is when Phil regains consciousness, and all he hears is the fact that, you know, don't forget, like, you work for me, and if I tell you I want Hercules' head, you say, and then Meg responds, medium or well done. So that's all Phil heard of the conversation. So he takes off to tell Hercules, knowing full well that this is going to break Hercules' heart. So he tells Hercules. Of course, Hercules doesn't believe him, tells him to leave him alone, and they get into like this huge argument, and Phil eventually ends up leaving. And after Phil leaves, Hades approaches Hercules and introduces himself. And then that's when he points out the fact that he basically has Meg captured and in danger. And he's willing to cut a deal with Hercules, basically saying that, you know, if you give up your strength for 24 hours, then I will promise you that no harm will come to Meg, but you've got to give up your strength for 24 hours because there's something that I need to do that I can't have you interfering in. And Hercules is basically like, this involves people getting hurt, doesn't it? And he's like, maybe, possibly. And so that's when Hercules reluctantly makes the deal because he cares more about Meg. And so Hercules gives up his strength. But before he does, he makes the condition that if anything happens to Meg, then the deal is basically null and void. So we fast forward. Hercules is now without his strength, and the moons and everything are now aligned, and Hades is freeing the Titans and basically asking them, like, who sent you here? Who put you in these prisons? And they're like, Zeus. And he's like, who are you going to destroy? Zeus. So he sets them free, and they go on this Zeus.
Sorry,
I love saying it. Zeus. So they go on this path of destruction, but before they do, they go off in the wrong direction, and then that's when Hades has to be like, guys, Olympus is that way. And they turn around and they start heading towards Olympus again, going, Zeus! So anyways, they're destroying everyone. And there's like one person that Hades tells to hold up, and it's like a Cyclops. And he's like, I need you for another job. So he sends the Cyclops into Thebes to destroy Thebes to weed out Hercules. So Hercules is without...
He's gonna go fight him, even though he has no strength.
Yeah, well, the town people are wondering where Hercules is, and then he eventually shows up. Yeah. He's visibly disheveled, without his strength, but he's gonna try to fight anyways. And Meg's by his side, and I'm assuming at this point Meg's basically told him the whole thing of what's gone on and how she didn't want to.
He doesn't want to listen.
Yeah, basically. But anyways, so she's still there with him as everyone's like, as the Cyclops is like destroying Thebes, and she's like, you're never going to be able to defeat him without his strength, but he still tries anyways. And then that's when Meg runs to find Phil and Pegasus, because Pegasus had been lured away and tied up by Hades' minions. So Meg sets Pegasus free, and she's like, I know you don't like me, but Hercules is in trouble. You gotta help me find Phil. So they find Phil, and basically Meg explains everything to Phil, and they go back, and Hercules is getting his ass completely kicked by the Cyclops, and Phil is there trying to coach him and trying to like get Hercules to believe in himself. And so Hercules gets motivated, and he grabs like this piece of wood or something that was on fire, and he uses it to escape the Cyclops' grip. But in the process of him fighting the Cyclops, Meg gets injured, And because harm came to Meg, Hercules gets his strength back and he's able to defeat the Cyclops. And feels like, don't worry, you go help save Olympus. I'll be here with Meg. Like, she'll be fine. Just go. And then, so Hercules goes, and most of the gods have been captured, and Hades has Zeus, like, chained up in, like, this sort of combination of lava and ice, and he's completely restricted. But then Hercules comes, and he breaks the chains that all of the gods of Olympus are currently in as they're being led to captivity. He frees them. He then frees his father Zeus, and he helps defeat the Titans and send them back to their prison, and he helps send Hades back to the underworld. And then
no, he didn't even send him.
He didn't send him back, but Hades went back because he was gonna take Meg.
No. The Titans, they didn't go back to the prison. Didn't they get thrown into space?
I just assumed that eventually led to their prison again.
Oh, it could have, I guess, yeah.
But so Hades goes back to the underworld, and Hercules is racing after him because he knows he's going to try to take Meg's life. He races back to Meg to try to get to Meg. And by the time he gets to Meg, the Fates had cut the strings of Meg's life. So she goes limp just before he gets there. And then that's when Hades goes to the underworld, or not Hades, Hercules goes to the underworld to find Hades, and Hades explains to Hercules that he's too late. Meg has already joined the souls of the underworld, and Hercules basically, tells him, okay, I'll make you a deal. If I can save Meg, you have to give her life back, and you can take mine in her place. And so Hades takes the deal, and Hercules jumps into this, like, river or ocean of death. I don't quite know what it is, but it's where all the souls are. And Meg is starting to float to the bottom, and that's when Hades, like, sort of says, by the way, you'll be dead before you get to her, because by jumping in, he's already starting to die, because it takes your life away. So as he's swimming and trying to get to Meg, you also see the Fates trying to cut his string of life. And just before we see Hercules rescue Meg, we see them try to cut his string, but it won't cut. And then it cuts back to Hercules, and he's now glowing like a god. And Hades is like, no, that's impossible. You couldn't be alive. The only way you could survive that is if you were, and Hercules says, a god. So Hercules becomes a god because he was willing to sacrifice himself for the betterment of somebody that he loved, which allows him to go back. What's that?
I was going to say, was it Hercules that said a god, or was it a pain and panic?
I thought it was Hercules that said it.
Oh. I thought it was Hades was like, there's no way. The only way you could survive is if you were and you heard them say, a god!
It may have been pain and panic, but I thought it was Hercules. But anyways,
I thought it was pain and panic. Yeah.
Hades ends up going into the, I can't remember, does Hercules put him in there, or does something happen where Hades just falls in to the river
Hercules
of death?
Comes up and he's like, yeah, so Hercules comes up and Hades is trying to reason with him. He's like,
and he punches him.
Right? He's a reasonable guy, and he punches him, right? And then he punches him, his face goes in, and then he comes back, he's like, come on. And then once when he grabs him and he throws him in.
Yeah. So
he throws him into there.
But yeah, so Hercules is now a god, so he's returning to Mount Olympus. Everybody's celebrating his return, including his father Zeus. And, Meg is like, good job, Wonder Boy. Like, after Hercules walks away to go back into the gates of Olympus, she sort of says to herself, good job, Wonder Boy. But she's also sad because that means Hercules can't be with her. And then he looks back and he realizes that he'd rather be with Meg. So he asks his father if he can be mortal again. And his father is basically like, yeah, but you realize what you're giving up, right? And Hercules is like, yeah, but I mean, basically, yeah, like, I'm not saying it word for word, but basically,
a life without Meg, even an immortal life, is not a life worth living.
Yeah. So he ends up going back to Meg, and he becomes mortal again. And then, we get our happy ending of Meg and Hercules being in love and being together, and Pegasus and Phil are by their side. And at the end, you see the stars.
Sorry, go on.
At the end, you see the stars do the formation of Hercules to signify that he's become a true hero and a true legend.
Yep, and that's when you get the people of Thebes going, "Hey, that's Phil's boy."
Yes, yeah.
That was one of Phil's dreams. Was he always wanted to be for people to be like that's Phil's boy up there.
Yep.
And that's the end of Hercules.
Yeah.
Again, my favorite and one of my favorites, and what I consider the most underrated Disney film.
Yeah, it was really, really good. What's your rating on it?
I'm gonna give this a 9.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it is really one. It may not have like some of like the greatest. Like it's got 2 great songs, but it doesn't have for a musical. It's only got maybe 4 songs, right? So it's kind of lower on the song department, but it's got the 2 songs that it does have are like absolute fantastic. And again, I just really like Greek mythology, and I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, I was gonna give this an 8, but you know what? I can't think of a good reason as to why not to give it a 9. So I'll bump it up to a 9, especially with the all the sort of merchandising jokes that run throughout the entire movie, which I'm certain are like shots at Jeffrey Katzenberg. And I mean, we've talked about my disdain for Jeffrey Katzenberg in two episodes now. So anytime there's shots at or perceived shots at Jeffrey Katzenberg, that's a win in my book. So yeah, I'll give it a 9 too.
You know what's hilarious is that I actually have Hercules merchandise from like the 90s. I'm pretty sure I still have 2 of the plates that came out. I think they were from McDonald's. Have you ever seen those?
No.
McDonald's came out with them for that movie. Oh.
I'll have to look them up after.
I have a Hercules one, and my sister had the Meg one, and like they pop up, like I see them pop up as memes sometimes. It's like back in the day when your mom used to say, "Get out the fancy plates," and you would pull out those ones. There was like a total of 6 of them. I only had 2, but I still have them somewhere.
Nice. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this edition. The next episode, we're gonna be doing Oliver and Company, which is another film in the Disney animation renaissance. We sort of have a theme going here, which I think will continue up until the release of the Howard documentary. And then we'll start doing some other Disney-related stuff after that. But yeah, so that's going to do it. Like I said off the top of the show, you can find us on social medias, Twitter at Ocho Ortiz Disney, on Facebook, facebook.com/Ocho Ortiz Disney Pod. Yeah, facebook.com/Ocho and Ortiz Disney Pod. And we are also on Instagram at Ocho and Ortiz Disney Pod. And you can find the podcast on most major podcasting platforms. We are available on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our main source of uploading is Podbean. Ocho and Ortiz DisneyPod.podbean.com. And again, if you want to help support our show financially, you may do so by going to paypal.me/Ocho and Ortiz. Anything that you're able or willing to give would be appreciated. But again, just sharing our episodes, letting people know about this podcast, and leaving comments is one of the biggest ways you can help us grow for free. Like I said on our last episode, I am working on getting a Patreon going for this podcast. It's not up yet. Hopefully by the time this episode releases, it will be. But as of this recording, it's not. And having said that, guys, as always, whether you're listening or watching this in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, whatever time of day it is, where you are, when you're watching or listening, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.